Please like this video and subscribe to help us reach our goal of 500 subscribers. Thank you. #MAGA. Fake news is reporting that I am talking to Mark Burnett about doing a big show, perhaps The Apprentice, after the presidency, which I would assume they mean in 5 years. This is not true, never had such a conversation, don't even have time to think about it. False reporting. Retweet. An impactful day in Morocco, where we furthered all 3 pillars of #WGDP. Women prospering in the workforce. Women succeeding as entrepreneurs. Women enabled in the economy. Good luck, Vince. This will be great.
Je suis contente d'être ici et bon matin. It is my greatest pleasure to visit Morocco for the first time and to be so beautifully and hospitably hosted by His Majesty. This initiative was started by President Trump with the goal of economically empowering 50 million women in the developing world by 2025. We applaud the Parliament in Morocco under His Majesty's leadership for changing the laws relating to women's ability to share in the benefits of land. When you invest in women, they invest back into their families and communities, and countries flourish.
President Trump is changing Washington, creating 6 million new jobs, 500,000 new manufacturing jobs, cutting illegal immigration in half, obliterating ISIS, their caliphate destroyed, their terrorist leader dead. But the Democrats would rather focus on impeachment and phony investigations, ignoring the real issues. But that's not stopping Donald Trump. He's no Mr. Nice Guy, but sometimes it takes a Donald Trump to change Washington.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Retweet. I will be announcing the winners of the #MAGA challenge and inviting them to the White House to meet with me and perform. Good luck.
I just speak the truth, that's something they don't understand. All these white liberals trying to tell me who I am. Don't put me in groups cause I'm my own man. I said I wasn't Democrat and lost a few friends. Radio stopped playing me, I lost a few fans. Don't tell me I'm a victim cause the power in my hands. I am not a victim, I am not oppressed. They keep taking shots, so I might just buy a vest. They said I want my MAGA hat, I told them say less. I bought the biggest MAGA hat, I did it just to flex. Wear it every day just to make them boys upset. I can't be controlled by nobody or a check. They call me a coon, I'm not impressed. They don't like the truth, so the least they gon' suppress.
Retweet. Tomorrow, I hit the streets for another epic man on the street interview. What does Americans know about Veterans Day? Do they even know that it is on Monday? This is one that you are not going to want to miss. Tune in at 8 p.m. ET on #Fox News #WatersWorld. Retweet. Fox News Jesse Watters, impeachment boring so far, not a sexy scandal, Americans don't care about Ukraine. Retweet. Jesse Watters nails Joe Biden and John Kerry in one monologue.
This is about a transcript of a phone call with a country no one cares about. These are about transcripts from a deposition that we can't even watch on television. And what do the transcripts say? It's from the Undersecretary of Affairs for Energy Policy at the EU. These aren't household names. They aren't heavy hitters. Wake me up when the big dogs testify in public. The other thing is, no one can find Ukraine on the map. If you ask the American people anything about Ukraine, they don't know a thing about it. Americans care about a few countries. They care about Saudi Arabia, they care about Israel, they care about Russia, China, and Mexico. That's it. Ukraine doesn't rise to the level of a country that people care about. We're talking about a military aid package to a country that I guess needs help, but a lot of people don't really care that much about. If you turn on television, you see a reporter standing in Congress saying someone was hearing something from someone else who was concerned about a military aid package. It's absolutely not registering in the American people's brain because it's not a sexy scandal. Russia was sexy, there was intrigue, people had handcuffs on them, it was about an election. This has no intrigue whatsoever, and the Democrats have failed to deliver any sort of convincing narrative. Now, the Republicans, they can start hammering people when it becomes public. Maybe that's interesting when you can watch something on television. Right now, it's a faceless whistleblower. The only thing that I was concerned about all week about this story are the new memos that came out that showed when the prosecutor in Ukraine raided Burisma's offices and started confiscating all the Lamborghinis from the owner, that they hired a bunch of lobbyists that met with Kerry, they met with Biden's people and say, hey guys, can you stop the corruption prosecution? And then Biden goes out on tape and brags about stopping the corruption prosecution. That's interesting to me. The other stuff, not so interesting.
Retweet. On Thursday, the 11th of July 2019, the President signed into law S. 693, the National POW/MIA Flag Act, which honors service members who are prisoners of war, POW, or missing in action, MIA, by increasing frequency of POW, MIA flag display on specified federal properties. /11/8/2019. Retweet. There are probably a myriad of additional reasons that Democrats have been focusing on impeachment, but none of them is because. At POTUS. At Real Donald Trump has engaged in impeachable conduct. The left is acting solely to protect and arrogate power. Retweet. A total and complete circus. Just petty politicians trying to undo. At Real Donald Trump's victory. Now, if only the ringleaders would let Congress get back to work on behalf of the American people. Retweet. Real Crackerjack reporting here. What actually happened in the room is Adam Schiff made up a new rule that day that nothing at all can be asked related to the intel community. Very different line of questioning than what the AP inaccurately wrote here. Retweet. Here's Rush Limbaugh weighing in on some of my deposition exchanges with Bill Taylor from Taylor's Trump.
Well, let's talk about Ambassador Taylor. William Taylor, stand-in ambassador Ukraine, Mr. Mueller II, impeccable, unassailable. You can't even breathe the same air he breathes. That's how insignificant mere mortals are to this august human existence. Lee Zeldin was questioning Bill Taylor. Ambassador Taylor says, September 7th, are we looking at the same paragraph, Zeldin? Yeah, third paragraph down on page 12. Ambassador Taylor. Yeah, right. In which he described a phone conversation with Sondland and President Trump. Yes, sir. Mr. Zeldin. This is the only reference in your opening statement to Biden other than your one reference to the July 25th call. And this isn't firsthand. It's not secondhand. It's not thirdhand. But if I understand this correctly, you are telling us, sir, that Tim Morrison told you that Ambassador Sondland told him that the president told Ambassador Sondland that Zelensky would have to open an investigation of Biden. Yes, sir. Folks, this isn't even third hand. Can I read it? This is Zeldin summarized for Bill Taylor. So, if I understand this correctly, you're telling us that the extent of your knowledge of this is that Tim Morrison told you that Ambassador Sondland told him that the president told Ambassador Sondland that Zelensky would have to open an investigation to Biden. Yes, sir. Folks, this isn't even third hand. Bill Taylor doesn't know anything. Yet he's been presented as a star witness who's got the goods that's finally going to nail Trump. And all he knows is what somebody told him that somebody said they told somebody else. That somebody else then said the president told them that, yeah. U.S. diplomat Bill Taylor, during his deposition last month, identified the New York Times as the only source of his claim that Trump wanted Ukraine to help him get dirt on Joe Biden. Trump never asked for dirt on Biden. That is an Adam Schiff completely manufactured slur. But regardless, the ambassador to Ukraine, Bill Taylor, admitted the New York Times was the sole source of what he knew. Not hearing the phone call, not talking to Trump about the phone call, not talking to Zelensky about the phone call, but reading about it in the New York Times. So he's there being called to testify by Schiff and his Democrats. Okay, what do you know? Well, I saw in the New York Times that blah, blah, blah. That's it. This is the same way that the FBI used the media to get so-called evidence before the FISA court. The FBI would plant a story in the New York Times. The New York Times ran the story. The FBI would then get the story from the New York Times, put it in the rest of the file, take it to the FISA judge and say, Judge, it's not just us at the FBI. Even the New York Times has this. Well, the New York Times had it only because the FBI gave it to him. So Taylor's going up there as a first-hand witness, and all he knows is what he read in the New York Times. And we all know how the New York Times is making things up. The transcript of the testimony described the Zeldin-Taylor exchange as follows. What was the goal? This is Lee Zeldin, New York congressman. Talking to Taylor, what was the goal of requesting investigations into the 2016 election and Ukrainian company that employed Hunter and Burisma? What was the goal? Taylor, well, as I understand it, from one of maybe the article in the New York Times about Giuliani's interest in Burisma, in that article, he describes, and I think he quotes Giuliani at some length. The article indicates Giuliani was interested in getting some information on Biden that would be useful for Giuliani's client. I think that's what he says. He says he's got one client. Folks, so Zeldin says, what was the goal of the president? Remember, this guy's presented as an expert fact witness. What was the goal of requesting investigations? Trump, what's the goal of the president requesting investigations into the 2016 election? Because that's what he was doing. He was asking essentially for Ukraine to help Bill Barr and to figure out how Trump ended up being investigated by the FBI, CIA. So this fact witness is being asked to explain what Trump was doing, requesting the investigation into 2016. Bill Taylor, well, the article in the New York Times says, blah, 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 Giuliani, blah, 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 his client. Blah. Bill Taylor doesn't know jack, but he's been presented to us, expert this, unassailable here, impeccable there, and the only thing he knows is what he read in the New York Times. Now, Schiff knows this is what he's going to say. This was not part of the released transcript. Well, it was, but none of this was among the first leaked releases that Schiff gave the media. So Zeldin says, then it's your inference that Mr. Giuliani's goal would be the president's goal. Taylor, yes. And your source is the New York Times. Taylor, yes. So do you have any other source that the president's goal making this request was anything other than the New York Times? I have not talked to the president. I have no information about what the president was thinking. Well, then why the hell are you even testifying? I have no information from what the president was thinking. So what we have here is Mr. Taylor's opinion of what he read in the New York Times as a stand-in for fact witness expertise testimony. This is what I mean by there is nothing, folks. And how do you rebut this? How do you treat this substantive charge? Well, I read in the New York Times that the president was asking him to find dirt. Now, a Breitbart news story says that Taylor claimed it was Rudy Giuliani, who requested that Zelensky investigate Ukraine's meddling into the 2016 election in Burisma. But Taylor said that his thinking on this was based on the New York Times article. It's laughable, is what this is. I don't know, folks. And
Retweet. 24 years ago today, the Jerusalem Embassy Act became law. It recognized Jerusalem as the undivided capital of Israel and required the move of the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. The recognition was ignored and the move was delayed by 3 prior presidents. But not this one, thank you. At POTUS. Retweet. It appears Ambassador Yovanovitch did not accurately answer this question I asked her during her impeachment inquiry deposition under oath. Retweet. It appears Ambassador Yovanovitch did not accurately answer this question I asked her during her impeachment inquiry deposition under oath. Retweet. Zeldin to Kent, do you have any first-hand knowledge of United States aid to Ukraine ever being connected to the opening of a new investigation? Kent, I do not have direct knowledge, no. Retweet. The George Kent transcript was just released and once again there's zero first-hand info of US dollar to Ukraine being linked to specific investigations. I'm sure the Dems and media would love to rely though on the unreliable here. Taylor told Kent that Sondland told Taylor, etc. 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 Retweet. The Dems. Media are desperately relying on Taylor as their star witness to show there was an impeachable offense of quid pro quo. Aside from the fact he admits he has no idea what quid pro quo even means, Taylor also admitted to me his claims aren't based on first-hand knowledge. Retweet. This evidence would be thrown out of court so quickly for all of the right reasons. Here Taylor concedes to me that his only substantive claim from his opening statement referencing Biden not only isn't first-hand ... it's not even second-hand. Retweet. VP Pence traveled to Warsaw to communicate 2 points to Zelensky on the 1st of September at POTUS direction. Here Taylor agrees with me that these 2 points were 100% in line with US law and policy. Retweet. Volker confirmed to me during his interview that in no way, shape or form was there any quid pro quo whatsoever.
A conversation between Congressman Zeldin and Kurt Volker behind closed doors. And Mr. Zeldin says, and in no way, shape, or form in either the readouts from the United States or Ukraine did you receive any indication whatsoever for anything that resembles a quid pro quo. And Mr. Volker says, correct.
Yeah, it's pretty dispositive. But again, the Volker-Zeldin exchange under oath will be ignored because it doesn't fit the narrative. It doesn't fit we're headed to a recession. There's Russia collusion. We should impeach the president over a call that the whole world can see the transcript. I walk around with it. It's right here. Everybody read it. Right. And much like the president's social media feed, everybody has access to it. But now we're bringing witnesses in who tell you what they presumed or how they interpreted it. And the last time I checked, there was one person and a vice president who were elected to set the nation's foreign policy and to decide these matters.
Retweet. All 3 major equity indices finished higher and at new all-time highs, all while there are $360 billion in tariffs current on China exports to the United States. The experts keep talking about tariffs as if market, employment, wages aren't soaring. America is winning. Retweet. SDU, the Democrats are losing on policy, losing on prosperity, and their socialist front-runners are being attacked by their own side. Mainstream media, Medicare for all, 2020 election, my take, Varnico.
I was shocked this morning when I scanned the headlines in the liberal media. They've woken up to the economic lunacy of Elizabeth Warren's Medicare for All. She is the darling of the left, but on this one, she's taking a shellacking. The New York Times, look at this. The Warren way is the wrong way. The Times says a Warren presidency is, quote, a terrifying prospect. Whoa. The Washington Post, look at this. A health care plan to get Trump re-elected. Yes, it's that bad. Another from the Post. Warren's health care plan is festooned with magic asterisks. The writer is Ruth Marcus. She says, Warren's numbers are fanciful. You know, I really wasn't expecting this. It amounts to panic, doesn't it? Panic that the new front runner for the Democrats has made a major gaffe that cannot be taken back. It gets worse. The New York Times conducted an extensive poll of battleground states, those states that will have a big say in deciding next year's winner: Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Florida, Arizona, and North Carolina. And the Times concluded, quote, "The president's advantage in the Electoral College remains intact or has even grown." No wonder the Democrats are now pushing impeachment. There's only a year to go to the election, and they're losing on policy, losing on prosperity, and their socialist front-runners are being attacked by their own side. Impeach him, slime him, give away free stuff. That's what they're running on. Trump wins.
True.
Time to set a few things straight about impeachment. Number one, it is a purely political strategy. The Democrats intend to damage the president as much as possible right before the election. It is entirely partisan. All Republicans voted no. All but 2 Democrats voted yes. No matter what the lawyers say, this is not a legal issue. Are we prepared to remove this president from office on the basis of a phone call to Ukraine? Don't be fooled by legalisms. That is a political question. 2, impeachment has little or no impact on the stock market. Investors are not dancing to Speaker Pelosi's tune. Investors care about profits in the economy, trade, and employment. This impeachment drive hasn't scared Wall Street. Trump doesn't scare Wall Street, but if Sanders or Warren look likely to win next year, watch out below. Did you see Warren's $52 trillion Medicare for All plan? Ooh, a little more scary than Trump's prosperity, if you ask me. Number 3, there will be a backlash. Unless a real high crime is revealed, the impeachment drive will fail in the Senate, and when it fails, voters will ask what the Democrats achieved. All they've done is damage a president that they hate. That's where I'm coming from. Impeachment is all vicious politics. It will fail, and voters won't forget.
We will win big.
When the New York Times points to problems in Joe Biden's campaign, you know that campaign is in trouble. The Times headline, "The Many Ways That Joe Biden Trips Over His Own Tongue." Well, the writer lists a series of gaffes which keep on coming, even though he's had 6 months of campaigning to sharpen up. The Times quotes a leading Iowa Democrat, quote, "He comes across like he's stumbling around, trying to figure out what he's going to say." That in the New York Times, of all places. More bad news. New polling shows Biden's lead over Trump in head-to-head matchups is narrowing sharply. Not good for the Biden camp. He's supposed to be the one who will beat him, Trump, like a drum. Sounds like an empty boast now that his early big lead has crumbled. That's not his only polling problem. In Iowa, the Civics poll of likely caucus goers puts him in 4th place. And when it comes to raising money, he's in deep trouble, trailing Warren, Sanders, and Mayor Pete. It takes money to campaign effectively these days, and Joe ain't reeling it in. Joe Biden is facing a crisis, and by extension, so is the moderate wing of the Democrat Party. As he fades, the socialist power ahead. Watch today's impeachment process vote. Moderate Democrats are, shall we say, conflicted. New Jersey's Jeff Van Drew, Oklahoma's Kendra Horn, South Carolina's Joe Cunningham, New York's Anthony Brindisi, Minnesota's Colin Peterson, all elected in districts Mr. Trump won in 2016. The crisis in the moderate camp puts them in a corner, just like Joe Biden. It's crunch time. The angry left has taken over the Democrat Party, and the socialists have taken over the presidential campaign.
SDU, the hashtag Democrats know they can't remove at real Donald Trump from office, but they'll go ahead with the hashtag impeachment process anyways because they detest him. Hashtag Congress, hashtag GOP, hashtag my take, hashtag Varnico.
Tell me now, are we going to remove this president from office because he invited Ukraine to investigate a political rival? That's what the impeachment charge amounts to. Not lying to a federal judge and having sex with an intern in the Oval Office like Bill Clinton. Oh no. This time around, the phone call is the high crime and misdemeanor. The Democrats know that Mr. Trump will not be removed from office, but they'll go ahead with the impeachment process anyway because, one, they think they can damage him politically before the election, and two, they detest him. They made a bad bet. They put their political interests above the country's interest. Congress gets nothing done during this impeachment storm. The country is held hostage by Speaker Pelosi's contempt for the president. It's already looking like a bad bet. These secret hearings are an affront to our sense of fairness. And Chairman Adam Schiff telling witnesses not to respond to Republican questions, that is simply outrageous. This is America. Tomorrow, on Halloween, the House will vote on the rules governing the impeachment process. The Democrats will have to show their true colors, and that could be a problem for some of them. There are 30 members who were elected last year in heavily Trump-leaning districts, like Colin Peterson, whose district in northern Minnesota went for Trump by 30 points. How will his constituents feel if he votes yes? That's a dangerous gamble, isn't it? Former Speaker Newt Gingrich thinks tomorrow's vote will cost the Democrats their majority in the House. Meanwhile, the rest of the country looks on incredulous. The president orders the killing of the brutal terrorist Baghdadi and his successor, and the Democrats virtually ignore the victory. They give the president no credit at all, and within 24 hours they're back to secret hearings and stifling witnesses. Too late to pull back now. Speaker Pelosi has committed herself to impeachment. It will go forward. But at some point, we the people will have our say. I don't think America's willing to remove this president from office because of a phone call. And the abuse he's taking so offends middle America that he wins a second term. What will the Democrats do then?
True.
Time to set a few things straight about impeachment. Number one, it is a purely political strategy. The Democrats intend to damage the president as much as possible right before the election. It is entirely partisan. All Republicans voted no, all but 2 Democrats voted yes. No matter what the lawyers say, this is not a legal issue. Are we prepared to remove this president from office on the basis of a phone call to Ukraine? Don't be fooled by legalisms. That is a political question. 2, impeachment has little or no impact on the stock market. Investors are not dancing to Speaker Pelosi's tune. Investors care about profits in the economy, trade and employment. This impeachment drive hasn't scared Wall Street. Trump doesn't scare Wall Street, but if Sanders or Warren look likely to win next year, watch out below. Did you see Warren's $52 trillion Medicare for All plan? Ooh, a little more scary than Trump's prosperity, if you ask me. Number 3, there will be a backlash. Unless a real high crime is revealed, the impeachment drive will fail in the Senate, and when it fails, voters will ask what the Democrats achieved. All they've done is damage a president that they hate. That's where I'm coming from. Impeachment is all vicious politics. It will fail, and voters won't forget.
Retweet. SDU. Voters everywhere have been rejecting costly climate dreams. Hashtag natural gas, hashtag climate change, hashtag fracking, hashtag my take, hashtag Varnico.
Thursday, October 24th, fall has arrived, and yes, there is a chill in the air. Time to fire up your heating system. Hope you've got nat gas rather than home heating oil. It's cheaper, you know. Heat your home with nat gas, and the average household pays $580 a year. It's $1,500 a year if you use heating oil. Give me that nat gas, please. But you have to feel a little sorry for people who live in states run by climate warriors. New York State, for example, won't allow pipelines to bring in the cheap gas from neighboring Pennsylvania. President Trump has taken note. Roll tape.
New York should do it, and New York should allow pipelines to go through so the people of New England can cut their energy costs in half, so the people in New York could cut their energy costs in half, and they won't do any fracking in New York, and they won't take all of that wealth underneath and reduce their taxes. Wouldn't that be nice? They don't do it in New York. Somebody someday will explain why.
All right. Well, the president's pretty good at politics. He knows Pennsylvania gets billions from nat gas fracking, and he knows voters won't look kindly on the Democrats' proposed fracking ban. And he knows that New York voters will not look kindly on expensive heating oil being forced down their throats. Voters everywhere have been rejecting costly climate dreams. The blackouts in California, they're part of all of this, too. For years, the utility, PG&E, has had to spend an extra $2 billion every year, an extra $2 billion a year to buy expensive renewable energy. That money could not be used to inspect their power lines and to clear out tinder-dry rush. The resulting wildfires bankrupted the company, and Californians pay among the highest electricity rates in the country. They pay the highest gas prices in the nation, too, in part because of the demands of environmental activists. If there were a free vote and people could say yes or no to cheap energy, I'm pretty sure there will be a strong yes vote. President Trump knows that. The Democrats are still dreaming.
Retweet. SDU. As we start the new week, look beneath the hashtag impeachment headlines, and you'll see a full hashtag employment economy that's much stronger than hashtag Europe or hashtag Japan. And you'll see a hashtag Democrat Party that's struggling. Hashtag 2020 election, hashtag my take, hashtag Varnico.
No wonder the Democrats are pushing so hard on impeachment. Their own party, their own narrative is in disarray. But try as they might, the splits, divisions, and policy fights are coming to the surface. What was Hillary Clinton thinking when she called Tulsi Gabbard a Russian asset? It was such a wild assertion that at first, CNN and MSNBC didn't know what to make of it. It took them a while to actually even report it. And now, Gabbard has responded with a video telling Hillary, "I'm not a traitor and you won't shut me up." Have you ever seen such a split as that one? Senator Warren is giving Democrats agita with her refusal to say clearly if taxes on the middle class would go up to pay for Medicare for all. She was asked again on Sunday and came back with her usual response. She's going to get costs down, and the full plan will be revealed soon. With health care at the heart of the Democrats' 2020 campaign, they need to tell us soon who's really on the hook for another round of health care upset. Bernie and AOC are also giving their fellow Democrats cause for concern. Over the weekend, she endorsed him right on the spot where Amazon was going to build a big campus until her opposition helped kill that deal. Does Bernie so hate billionaires that he'll stop New York getting thousands of new, well-paid jobs? Apparently so. And then there's the money-raising story. Trump's winning. Democrats are trailing. The Trump campaign has mastered social media far better than his potential opponents. Former frontrunner Joe Biden is having a particularly hard time. Who would have thought? We were always told that Democrats were the masters of political organization. So as we start the new week, look beneath the impeachment headlines, and you'll see a full employment economy that's much stronger than Europe or Japan. And you'll see a Democrat Party that's struggling with policy, messaging, money raising, and still trying to deal with Hillary's charge that Tulsi Gabbard, a combat veteran, is a Russian asset. Unbelievable.
Retweet. Hashtag coup has started. Those were the words of the so-called whistleblower's attorney, 2.5 years before the call with Ukraine. Tonight, it's clear that the left's disdain for hashtag President Trump has been simmering from the very beginning. Hashtag Trish Regan.
The coup has started. Those were the words of the alleged whistleblower's attorney 2.5 years before that call with Ukraine ever even happened. Good evening, everyone. I am Trish Regan. You know, I guess the Dems can't say they didn't warn. Yeah, right? Because they sure did. They sure warned. I mean, this was their plan from the very beginning. Tonight, it's clear to the country, it's clear to the world that the left's disdain for deplorables, MAGA hats, and the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, all of this had been simmering from the very, very beginning, and they were just sort of laying in wait, looking for the opportunity, looking for their moment to launch the biggest hostile takeover in American history, far worse than any robber baron that they've demonized over the years from the 1800s could have ever dreamt up. With far more impact than any Wall Street hostile bids in recent history, from Kraft's $20 billion takeover of Cadbury, InBev's hostile $52 billion takeover Anheuser-Busch, or Carl Icahn's failed attempt to take over Clorox. Now, these Democrats, they mean business. And they've been sounding the alarm with, well, this lawyer's tweets. The lawyer that's representing the leaker. Coup has started, he tweeted. First of many steps. Hashtag rebellion, hashtag impeachment will follow ultimately. Then he goes on to hashtag lawyers. You know, coup has started. This is another one. As one falls, two more will take their place. Rebellion, impeachment. We get it. That's what you wanted. So what are we witnessing right now? The impeachment to nowhere and harassment of the president? It was all part of their plan.
Retweet. As we reflect this week on the horrific 9/11 attack, it's important to remember how far we've come in combating radical Islamist terrorist groups, but also how much work is left. We stand strong against regimes that sponsor terror and encourage violence against the US and our allies. Just finished reading my son Donald's just out new book, Triggered. It is really good. He, along with many of us, was very unfairly treated. But we all fight back, and we always win. Bringing the word nationalism back into the mainstream. Great job by Rich Lowry. Very important book. But the witch hunt continues. After 3 years of relentless attacks against the Republican Party and me, the do-nothing Dems are losers for America. Presidential harassment. I recommend that nervous Nancy Pelosi, who backed up Sly, Shifty Adam Schiff, Sleepy Joe Biden, the whistleblower, who miraculously disappeared after I released the transcript of the call, the second whistleblower, who also disappeared, and the IG, be part of the list. Whatever happened to the so-called informer to whistleblower number 1? Seems to have disappeared after I released the transcript of the call. Shouldn't he be on the list to testify? Witch hunt. Witch hunt. 95% approval rating in the Republican Party. Thank you. Hashtag MAGA, hashtag CAG 2020. Thank you, Lee and David. A terrible lie. How can she do such a thing? Retweet. GOP TX Rep Ratcliffe to Taylor, and to your knowledge, nobody in the Ukrainian government was aware of the hold? Taylor, that is correct. Ratcliffe, great. Thank you for clarifying. Retweet. Smart guy.
Dan Bongino.
I've got some really terrific information for you. I have a source with connections, let's say, to the National Security Council where the fake whistleblower complaint originated. I'm going to walk you through some connections here that I promise are going to open your eyes and make you look at this fake whistleblower complaint entirely differently. The connections between the whistleblower and key people dealing with the Ukrainian government are painful to look at. The media's doing none of their homework at all. A loaded show for you.
The Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud. And follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 at DBongino.
Retweet. The person who planted fake evidence shouldn't be the one ruling on the admissibility of fake evidence, Ratcliffe said of Schiff on Friday. Ratcliffe, Adam Schiff is running a corrupt process to overthrow Trump. Retweet. We learn from the press today that CHM Schiff had prior knowledge and involvement in the WB complaint. He withheld this info from the American people and even from the intel community. In light of this news, it's hard to view impeachment as anything aside from an orchestrated farce. Totally. Thank you to LSU and Alabama for a great game. Retweet. Alabama loves president. At Real Donald Trump. This is what the fake news media won't show you. Hashtag MAGA. But the fake news will never show this. Thank you. Alabama and LSU fans welcome President. At Real Donald Trump. And First Lady Melania Trump to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Welcome to Bryant-Denny Stadium. At POTUS. And. At FLOTUS. Exclamation mark hashtag Roll Tide. Retweet. SIF said we'd hear from the whistleblower. But when collusion between the whistleblower and SIF's staff was revealed, he changed his tune. Republicans requested the whistleblower as a witness in SIF's show hearings. Will he block him out to avoid people seeing the truth? Thank you, Terrence.
I told y'all people love President Trump. Oh, don't listen to CNN. Now, they quick to show about 5 people booing Trump, but nobody on the news is showing this right here. Oh, no. Don't even turn it on MSNBC because you won't see it on there either. But I guarantee you they will be showing about 2 people protesting President Trump. But they don't want to let y'all know that majority of the people in America love President Donald J. Trump. Look at that. Alabama loved Trump. But Alabama ain't the only one that love him. We all love President Trump. So don't let CNN fool y'all, okay? Don't let MSNBC fool y'all. Don't let Don Lemon and Anderson Cooper and that little boy Rachel Maddow, whatever his name is, don't let him fool you neither. Cause Rachel Maddow, he don't know what he talking about either. They always hating on somebody. And don't let that little girl, what's that little girl's name? Jim Acosta. Don't let her fool you either, okay? People love President Trump.
Thank you, Andrew. Meadow was watching and is so proud of her great father and family. Great. Retweet. Tomorrow night at my new time, 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox, my 1-hour interview with Don Jr. Please don't miss it on Life, Liberty and Levin.
It's a fantastic book. Donald Trump Jr. triggered how the left thrive. I gotta take my glasses off so I can read. How the left thrives on hate and wants to silence us. And you have been subjected to this. Your sister has. Your brother has. Your brother-in-law. But you've been dragged in front of Congress. You've been dragged in front of all these investigative committees behind closed doors for the most part. You've had to hire lawyers. You've had to spend money on this sort of thing.
Lots.
Dozens and dozens of people close to the President of the United States have. And to what end? For what purpose?
None. They're trying to, reverse the results of an election that they didn't agree with, though the American people obviously agreed. The impeachment probe right now, guess what? That started on November 9th, 2016. Whatever they can do to backfill it. I mean, you saw the Mueller report, and again, for me, I could write about it extensively in the book, because I think it's pretty safe to say that I was the number 2 target. If they couldn't get my father, they would have loved to have taken me down. And I just remember going through it, and it took me maybe 41 years to realize I was a lot more like my father than anyone would have called before that, including ourselves. But you put us in that corner, and we fight back. We push back hard. I mean, I certainly did that during the probe. My father certainly does that. And I think it's been a great thing in the sense that it's shown conservatives that you can actually fight back. You don't just have to turn the other cheek. We've done that for 50 years, and all we've done is cede ground to the lunatic fringe of the left and their policies. So, for me, it was an interesting experience. But it wasn't just, half of government literally trying to throw you in jail for quote-unquote treason for taking an unsolicited phone call. Meanwhile, the other candidate, Hillary Clinton, can have a DNC-funded operation where they're paying foreign operatives to dig up dirt, seed that with the FBI, leak it to the press, use that as a justification to then start a witch hunt, bring in Robert Mueller. Obviously, they only brought him in because he was the former head of the FBI and he was a decorated Marine, so he's above reproach. Trump cannot possibly attack him.
Great day. Great game. Great reception for @Flotus and @Real Donald Trump. The South knows what's what. Retweet. Things Democrats did this week: sham impeachment proceedings. Things they didn't: ratify #use MAGA, fund the troops, lower drug prices, so much more. Americans are tired of their partisan politics.
Well, I'll tell you, the president continues to work, and it's unfortunate that the Democrats, as you just said, are focusing only on impeachment. We're missing out on a lot of work that can be done on behalf of this country. The fact that the whistleblower has now his attorneys who, since the day the president took office, were tweeting about a coup and how they had to get the president out of the office should be of concern to a lot of people. But the president's going to continue to work. We've got to try and get USMCA passed. We've got to try to pass a budget for this country. We've got to fund our military. I would just implore the Democrats to understand that the president did nothing wrong. Their sham impeachment has not worked. It's not going to work. Let's all try to get to work for the country and do some positive things.
Retweet. If Adam Schiff blocks these witnesses from testifying, it will be further proof that this is a partisan political vendetta against @Real Donald Trump. Retweet. Kamala taking a page out of Hillary's book. 2020 Democrats want to destroy millions of American jobs in the fossil fuel industry. @Real Donald Trump. Won't let that happen.
What is the solution for voters who have jobs and interests in the fossil fuel industry?
Well, for the workers in that industry, we have to, we have to encourage that those industries do better in terms of giving the workers an ability to transition into the jobs of the future, such as renewable energy. And there are, if the Bureau of Labor Statistics last came out with a list of the top 20 jobs in the United States that will see the greatest amount of growth. In large part, the jobs are on that list because these jobs need to be filled and we don't have the skilled labor to fill them. Number one and number two, installation and maintenance of wind turbines and solar paneling. So my plan and what I intend to do for those workers is part of my plan of action is that all workers who need to transition are going to get an $8,000 tax credit to be able to do the training that is necessary to take on the jobs that need to be filled.
Retweet. Must read op-ed by at Representative Mike Rogers AL, at Representative Adrian Smith, at Rep Wahlberg, at Representative Ann Wagner, at Representative Ross Spano, and at Representative Dan Bishop. Democrats are so obsessed with impeaching. At Real Donald Trump. They are doing nothing to fix real problems Americans care about. Retweet. The Trump campaign just launched Veterans for Trump. At Real Donald Trump. Is delivering for veterans. Sign Veterans Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act. Created a new White House VA hotline. Authorized $2.1 billion in additional funds for the Veterans Choice Program. Retweet. We know Adam Schiff coordinated with the whistleblower, then lied about it. But now we have learned another Democrat staffer coordinated with a leading witness before the whistleblower's complaint was even public. It's all politics. Such great people. He is not a whistleblower. He is a deep stater. Let the president do the job he was elected to do. At Judge Jeanine. Retweet. I recommend that nervous Nancy Pelosi, who backed up Schiff's lie, shifty Adam Schiff, sleepy Joe Biden, the whistleblower, who miraculously disappeared after I released the transcript of the call, the second whistleblower, who also disappeared, and the IG, be part of the list. Retweet. Whatever happened to the so-called informer to whistleblower number 1? Seems to have disappeared after I released the transcript of the call. Shouldn't he be on the list to testify? Witch hunt. Retweet. Presidential harassment. Retweet. But the witch hunt continues. After 3 years of relentless attacks against the Republican Party and me, the do-nothing Dems are losers for America. Retweet. A couple people boo President Trump at the Nationals game in D.C. Media. Breaking news. The entire stadium cheering for President Trump at the LSU/Bama game. Media. Silent. Retweet. Greg Jarrett unravels the coordinated, premeditated plot to impeach Trump. Retweet. Adam Schiff sits on a throne of lies. Retweet. The whistleblower's right to anonymity is a myth. Retweet. Greg unravels the coordinated, premeditated plot to impeach. Retweet. There is no whistleblower statute that permits an unelected and inferior federal employee to blow the whistle on the president, the most superior officer in the U.S. government. Retweet. President Trump to kick off NYC 100th Veterans Day Parade. Retweet. Here's why the Justice Department must investigate Joe Biden's quid pro quo. Retweet. Concerns, opinions, and hearsay are not evidence. Thank you to LSU and Alabama for a great game. Such an amazing game and place. Retweet. Just finished reading my son Donald's just out new book, Triggered. It is really good. He, along with many of us, was very unfairly treated. But we all fight back, and we always win. Make America great again.
President Trump is changing Washington, creating 6 million new jobs, 500,000 new manufacturing jobs, cutting illegal immigration in half, obliterating ISIS, their caliphate destroyed, their terrorist leader dead. But the Democrats would rather focus on impeachment and phony investigations, ignoring the real issues. But that's not stopping Donald Trump. He's no Mr. Nice Guy, but sometimes it takes a Donald Trump to change Washington.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed listening, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more fun daily content.